It's football Sunday. Just kidding. That's next week. But I thought that this would be a great time, 1 week before the season, to unveil my 2022 to 23 NFL playoff predictions. And we're gonna be doing this in Madden just so I can illustrate my points better as to why I think these teams will make the playoffs. So yeah, let's just jump right to this with the NFC, and we're going to be starting with the seventh seed, who I think is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. So why do I think the Vikings are going to get the seventh seed? Well, their weapons are very good. They've got Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen at the wide receiver positions, and they've got Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison at the running backs. And so they're running back are going to be really good. Their wide receivers are going to be really good. They have a serviceable tight end in Irv Smith Jr. And even though Kirk Cousins does choke in big spots against good teams, he isn't going to have to win that many games to get the seventh seed in the NFC because the NFC is so weak. Now, their offensive line is fairly concerning, but I think that, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. And he does have some very good weapons, so the offense should be pretty good. And the defense has some really good pass rushers in Zadarius Smith and Daniil Hunter. Obviously, they've got Eric Hendrickson. Now, one thing that is concerning is their cornerbacks, but they still do have Harrison Smith anchoring that secondary, so the defense should be serviceable. And again, they should be the seventh best team in the NFC, which is not saying a lot. Now for the sixth seed in the NFC, I think that will go to the 49ers. So obviously they have a new practically rookie quarterback in Trey Lance, but they should have a really good run game with Elijah Mitchell. They have some very good weapons in Deebo Samuel, obviously George Kittle, though he does get injured. Kyle Juszczyk, the only serviceable fullback in the game or in the NFL, and Brandon Ayuk, who people are saying is having a really, really, really good camp. Obviously, they still have Trent Williams anchoring the offensive line, and on the defense, they still have some very good pass rushers. Nick Bosa, Javon Kinlaw, and Eric Armstead. They don't really have that great of a secondary, really, but this defense still should be pretty good. And obviously, this is practically the same team that went to the NFC Championship game with Jimmy Garoppolo. So basically, any way you slice it, either it's that the team did most of the heavy lifting and this team will be really good again, or Jimmy Garoppolo did most of the heavy lifting, but then the coaching staff has said that Trey Lance is their starter, which means that, they have to think that he's at least not that much worse than him, so then he should still be able to fill in a decent role. Now, I do think that Trey Lance's inexperience will cost them a few games early on, which is why I think that they will only get the sixth seed and not win their division, but they still should be a really, really good team, and I wouldn't want to play them come playoff time. Next, I'm going to have the Saints as the final wildcard team, the fifth seed. So, the Saints, they have some very good weapons. They obviously are getting Michael Thomas back. Hopefully. They drafted Chris Olave in the first round, and they still have Jarvis Landry. Now, Alvin Kamara, there's talk saying that, he might not even get suspended at all this season. And even if he does get suspended, Mark Ingram has shown that he could be a very, very good running back in, the Saints team and Saints culture. The offensive line is also, pretty good. And even though they did lose Teron Armstead, they drafted, a left tackle who does get in a lot of fights, but who should be at least serviceable. And on the defensive side, obviously, you still have Cameron Jordan and Marcus Davenport. You still have Marshawn Lattimore, and you added Tyrann Mathieu. He's gone. CJ Chauncey Gardner is gone. But you added Marcus May, and you still have Demario Davis. So this defense should be very, very, very good. And yeah, really, like the only question mark is the quarterback in Jameis Winston. But I think that based on the limited action we saw him last year, he should be miles better than he was in Tampa Bay. For the number 4 seed, I'm gonna have the Eagles winning their division. So their offensive line is really, really good. And they have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Obviously a really good pass catching group. Should have Dallas Goedert like when the season starts, and I don't know why they say he's injured there. And even though Miles Sanders is actually like a fairly underrated running back, and I think he's pretty good. And obviously you have Jalen Hurts, who is a dual threat quarterback, and I think that with the addition of AJ Brown, he should take a step forward. And on the defensive side, I mean the defense was like pretty good last year, and it should like still be fairly good. They did add James Bradbury to their secondary, along with Anthony Harris. And yeah, I mean the pass rush should still be really good, and their secondary is really good. So yeah, their defense should still be good, and if Jalen Hurts does take the next step, then they might even be contenders for the Super Bowl. My number 3 seed is going to be the Buccaneers, and they are only the number 3 seed because I think that Tom Brady should take a sizable step back this season. I mean, he was like pretty much ready to call it quits anyways. So they should have but I still think that they will win their division over the Saints, and still be in a great position to make a deep playoff run as the number 3 seed. So obviously they still have Tom Brady, who should be pretty good, even though I do think that he's going to take a step back. Leonard Fournette is a really good running back, and they have the best wide receiver core in the league: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, and Russell Gage. That is really good. And even though they did lose their center for the year, the offensive line should still be fairly good. With the addition of Shaq Mason after the retirement of Ali Marpet. And their defense should still be really good with their pass rush, with Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea as their defensive tackle. And yeah, they're two their linebackers, like Levante David and Devin White, might be the best middle linebacker tandem in the league. So I think that the Buccaneers should get the 3rd seed. I think the Packers will be the 2 seed, and I only think that they're not going to be the 1 seed this year. I mean, because of the departure of Devontae Adams, but the Packers are a really good regular season team. Not so much postseason team, but regular season team. They are very good. They have a great running back duo in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Obviously, still Aaron Rodgers. Their wide receivers do need some work, but they are getting David Bakhtiari back. Still have Elton Jenkins on the offensive line. Devontae Campbell was a big surprise last year, but he played amazing. They're going to get Jair Alexander back, and yeah, their defense should be pretty good. The Packers have invested quite a lot in the defense, and it should show this year. And obviously, you're gonna have Aaron Rodgers, who's just the regular season just absolute top tier quarterback in the regular season. So they should make the playoffs and should get the 2nd seed. And I think the 1 seed will be the Rams. So their offensive line should be serviceable. They've got a pretty good tight end, a great wide receiver core, obviously highlighted by Cooper Kupp. And obviously they have Matthew Stafford, the missing piece from last season. They still have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey anchoring the defense, and they added Bobby Wagner, so the defense should even be better. And I just think that the Rams will win the 1 seed because they should just build upon what they did last year. And last year they won the Super Bowl. But do I think that they will win the conference? No. But I'll get to that later. So I think the 7th seed will go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a really good wide receiver core. Why is Chase Claypool the number? Who cares? Obviously, they have Najee Harris. Now, the quarterback situation is the big, question mark in the room. But Mitch Trubisky got the Bears to the playoffs in 2 of his 3 seasons, and his coach was Matt Nagy, so you have to give him some extra props for that. And obviously he has some great weapons around him, like, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, George Pickens, Najee Harris, and Pat Freiermuth. And if he doesn't play well, they're going to start Kenny Pickett at some point, and based on how he played in the preseason, he looks pretty good. Now, the offensive line is a concern, but they did, upgrade it significantly with the additions of Mason Cole and James Daniel, as well as, the just natural progression of some of the rookies like Dan Moore, Kevin Dotson, and Kevin Green. And the defense is, gonna be good, right? Because they've got, Tyson Alulu is coming back. Obviously, they've got Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Alex Highsmith as their pass rushers. The cornerbacks, they did lose, Joe Hayden, yeah, that's his name, but they did add Levi Wallace, and they did re-sign Witherspoon, and obviously you still have Minkah Fitzpatrick, so basically, and they brought in Miles Jack to hopefully, lessen the role of Devin Bush, hopefully. But yeah, I think that this team pretty much only got better because at the end, Big Ben was, not that great of a quarterback. So I think Mitch Trubisky might actually be an upgrade. And obviously, they upgrade our weapons with George Pickens. And they upgrade the defense with Miles Jack and Tyson Alulu coming back, along with the addition of Levi Wallace. So I think that the Steelers should be able to sneak in as the 7th seed again this season. I think that the Chargers will get the 6th seed, finally, not choking their way out of the playoffs, because if they don't make the playoffs this year, this is going to be an absolute catastrophe. Brandon Staley will get fired and will never get a job again. This team is way too talented not to make the playoffs. They have an excellent left tackle in Rashawn Slater. They brought in Gerald Everett, who's a good tight end, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, great wide receivers, and they have Austin Eckler, and obviously they've got Justin Herbert, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. Not even young, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And Brandon Staley is supposed to be, a defensive guru, right? So this defense should get better, and they brought in Khalil Mack to bolster the defense. J.C. Jackson at the cornerback position, this defense should be really, really good. And those additions should be able to get them over the hump that, they seem to just be choking away every single year. This, I think, is the year that the Chargers finally make the playoffs. And, you might be thinking, 6th seed, that seems a bit low. In this division, I think the 6th seed might be 12-5 or 11-6, something ridiculous like that. So yeah, they're going to have a really, really good season, I think. My 5th seed is going to be the Denver Broncos, and for one reason and one reason only. Russell Wilson. This team has been a quarterback away for so long, and I think that Russell Wilson, who is an elite, very good top 10 quarterback, no matter how much slander he's receiving from people who just don't know how good he is, and they're just judging his play based on last season when he played injured. He's a really, really good quarterback, and he's going to bring this team over the top that has, just an assortment of talent. Now, they did trade away their tight end, but they should still have a really good a good offensive line. They've got some pretty good weapons in Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, but obviously they did lose Tim Patrick. And they have a great running game in the duo of Jamal Williams and Melvin Gordon. On the defensive side of the ball, this defense was really, really, really good last season. Obviously, Patrick Surtain is only going to get better. And, Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory should form a really good pass rushing duo. And, this defense was really good last year, and I don't think that the loss of Vic Fangio, the head coach, should affect it that much. So I think that this defense should still be good this season. And paired with the resurgent offense with Russell Wilson, this team I think will go 12-4, 13-4, or 12-5 or 13-4. But they just won't beat the Chiefs. Now the 4th seed is gonna be the Indianapolis Colts. They have obviously Jonathan Taylor, one of, if not the best running back in the league. Now their wide receivers are concerning, but they still do have Michael Pittman Jr. and they brought in Matt Ryan, who should be an upgrade over Carson Wentz. And with Carson Wentz, they were a win over Jacksonville away from getting to the playoffs, so they should be able to get to the playoffs this season with Matt Ryan. The offensive line is obviously going to be really, really good, as it always is. And on the defensive side of the ball, they still have DeForest Buckner and Shaq Leonard, and they did add Stephon Gilmore. So I think that the defense, which was already really, really good last season, should even be better, which will lead them to finally winning the division and getting a playoff berth. I think that the 3 seed will be the Chiefs, and saying that they're the 3 seed doesn't really do it service. I think that the Chiefs might even go 14-3 or something, but they'll still be the 3 seed just because of how loaded the AFC is. They obviously have Patrick Mahomes, so that's just an automatic playoff appearance. And even though they did lose Tyreek Hill, they still have Travis Kelce, and they brought in Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquise Valdes-Scantling, along with drafting Sky Moore. Their offensive line, they did a major overhaul on it last season, and it paid off big. And obviously, the offensive line is only going to get better this season. Now, the defense is concerning, but it should be upgraded. They drafted a cornerback, drafted the left, and still have Chris Jones, who is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. And when they get to the playoffs, at least Frank Clark will play good. I think that people are sleeping on the Ravens this season because of, how decimated their team was last season. But remember this, they lost all their running backs and basically all of their secondary, and they were still the number 1 seed when Lamar Jackson was playing last year, before Lamar Jackson got injured. That is how good this team is. They've obviously they're going to get Lamar Jackson back this season fully healthy. They're going to get J.K. Dobbins back this season fully healthy. They're the receivers, they did trade away Hollywood Brown, but they don't need good receivers because they're just such a good running team. And obviously they have really good tight ends. And their defense should be still very, very, very good. And again, I will stress this point. They were the number 1 seed with when half their team was out with injuries when they had Lamar Jackson. So if Lamar Jackson does not get injured this season, I think that there's no reason why people should think that the Ravens will not have a huge rebound year, and I think that they will be the number 2 seed. And obviously the number 1 seed will be the Buffalo Bills. They still have Josh Allen, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. Have a really good wide receiver core. Their running backs, no one stands out particularly, but they do have a good group there. Have a good tight end in Dawson Knox, and their defense, which was, top of the league, or I wouldn't say top of the league, but it was really good last season. And they brought in Von Miller. They're gonna get Tre'Davious White back, and so their secondary should be good with those 2 amazing safeties and Tre'Davious White. Their pass rush should be better with Von Miller and Gregory Rousseau developing, and also Ed Oliver. And they still have Trey Edmonds as their middle linebacker. So I think that the Bills should easily win their division and should get the number 1 seed. And for my Super Bowl pick, I think that it will be Bills versus 49ers in the NFC. And in that game, I think that that is a tough one. I think that Trey Lance should have developed enough to be you know, at least like not terrible compared to Josh Allen. But do I think that the 49ers will? Yeah, I think that the 49ers will beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. So that is my Super Bowl prediction, and I hope you guys like this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.